Hey, speak for yourself, listeners. Before we start the show, I wanted to tell you about our brand new Fox Sports app and website, foxsports.com. Reimagined for the modern sports fan. Go ahead, download the new app now. You don't even have to pause this episode. Every day on the new app and website, you'll see the top stories in sports, plus a rich world of written content, videos, social media, and analytics to give you a 360-degree view of the most important stories of the day. Streaming live TV has never been so easy or elegant. Every Fox Sports game, including all pregame and postgame shows, are just one click away. For the extra invested fan, we also go deep with real-time wagering lines, trending prop bets, win probability, and key player projections. So download the new Fox Sports app or visit www.foxsports.com. Now, let's start the show.
Welcome to Speak for Yourself. I'm Marcel Swally, throwing in the towel.
Why you throwing it in today, bro?
Emmanuel.
No, just because you look a little, more muscular now, you just mail it in with your suits. Put it all together. You're like the Seahawks. Ooh. You can't put it all together.
I was going to give you more compliments, but I'm going to take a couple back. But Emmanuel Immaculate Acho. Dog, I ain't going to lie.
Like that.
You won't get better than today right now. I'm looking at you right now with your prep school picture looking. All right, let's get it started with two quarterbacks with a lot on the line this weekend. I'm so jealous. Let's talk about Baker Mayfield, who's coming off a 3-fumble performance and a loss to the Jets. But he can still lead his Browns to their first playoff appearance in nearly 20 years with a win against the Steelers Sunday. While in Baltimore, Lamar Jackson's Ravens are peaking at the right time with 4 straight wins. They're the 6th seed now and can clinch a spot with the win over the Bengals. So immaculate. Which quarterback needs a playoff berth more, Baker or Lamar?
So, first off, let me say it like this. I don't tell you how much I appreciate you. I don't.
What do you mean you don't? You have never. Don't act like you do it here and there. I appreciate you,
and I appreciate this show, because it's about to be a good conversation.
Well, okay.
Every now and then I start prepping my notes, and I'm like, okay, Marcella's going to go here, so I got to go there. Yeah. Marcella's going to go high, so I got to go low. He's going to go low, so I got to go high.
You know me.
I'm ready for this one. Who needs a playoff berth more? Lamar Jackson. Easily Lamar Jackson. Lamar desperately needs this playoff berth more. I have so many layers, again, like a wedding cake. I don't know where to start, but I'm going to start here. I've said this before. Expectations minus reality equals disappointment. Y'all at home digest that. Expectations minus reality equals disappointment. Who had higher expectations this season? Obviously, the unanimous MVP, Lamar Jackson.
Okay.
His expectations were significantly higher than Baker Mayfield. That we're asking the question of the same reality, missing the playoffs. So if Lamar had higher expectations and we're asking the same question of their reality, missing the playoffs, the disappointment is just easy. But I'm not going to bog you down with a mathematical equation, because let me get to it. In football, you have to pass certain check marks. In Mario, when we was all growing up, you had to pass certain levels before you could get to Bowser. Right? Remember, Bowser was the final guy. That was the final stage.
You lost me at Miss Pac-Man. You lost me at Dig Dug. Dig Dug is it. I'm done.
Okay, let's talk Madden. Because everybody...
95 is my last year.
That's...
Dog, work with me.
I'm going to work with you. Before you get to all Madden, you had rookie and you had all pro. And there's certain levels, criteria.
I'm with you.
Rock with me, still. Lamar Jackson, first you have to prove that you are a good NFL quarterback. You proved that.
Okay.
Now you got to prove that you can galvanize a team towards regular season success. He's proved that. Now you have to prove that you can galvanize a team toward championship success. Baker Mayfield, right now, he's proving that he is an NFL quarterback, a starting caliber quarterback.
Okay.
He's proving he can galvanize a team towards regular season success. But Baker Mayfield's curve and his expectations are different than Lamar Jackson's. So it's more imperative that Lamar gets the playoff berth, because Lamar Jackson's already checked off boxes. We waiting for him to check off the big box. Baker Mayfield is currently checking off boxes. So Baker Mayfield, even if they don't get to the playoffs, they're still 10-6. Lamar Jackson doesn't get to the playoffs. They're 10-6, but they're a 10-6 and
That's what happened.
You didn't make the playoffs.
Yeah.
So on my second lap, I'm going to come with a little more heat. I just wanted to, I brought out the appetizer. I brought out the spinach dip. I brought out the calamari.
So far,
I brought out the appetizer. You're going to get the main course now.
I love you, Acho. You said this time you prepped for this show. It sounded like this one was a big prep show. And then I was let down immediately by your answer of saying Lamar. You know it's Baker Mayfield. I understand your point, but you went too high. You skipped steps.
Okay.
Step one is just make it to the playoffs, and Lamar Jackson has done that. I would rather be Lamar Jackson, who says, hey, I struggle in the playoffs, than be Baker Mayfield, who you say has never made it to the playoffs. And right now, he's not even guaranteed an opportunity to be in the playoffs. Whew, imagine being 10-4 like Baker Mayfield was a couple weeks ago. And now you're in a position where you may be 10-6 at the crib. We haven't even discussed his fifth-year option. I don't know if they're going to pick it up. He right now is in balance in terms of, is he a franchise quarterback or is he a game manager, as you said, as a galvanizer? Who is Baker Mayfield?
Correct.
So look, to answer that, Baker Mayfield, check the first box. Lead your team to the postseason. Give them a chance in the dance. He has not done that yet in his career. And must I remind you, they came out the same year, dog. And must I remind you, one was pick number 1 and one was pick number 32, but one is already a unanimous MVP. Only 3 players in NFL history won an MVP before the age of 25. How's this company sound? Patrick Mahomes, Dan Marino, Lamar Jackson. That's what I'm talking about right now. We know that it's Baker Mayfield who needs this because Baker Mayfield has too much at stake. He doesn't have job security. He doesn't even have a proper standing in the organization or in the NFL. But you look at Lamar Jackson, as much as he struggled in the postseason, he has a resume that is already on pace to be an all-time great. So Baker Mayfield, you already beat him in the draft, number 1, but you can't lose everywhere else when it comes to performance. That's Baker's issue.
I like where you're going. This is going to be multifaceted.
You know what I'm talking about.
You told me yesterday, and this isn't a perfect parallel, but you told me yesterday you have different expectations for your 5-year-old than your 1-year-old.
I do.
Now, you said that based upon age, which is why I said not a perfect parallel.
Okay.
Baker and Lamar came into the league the same time. All I'm drawing the comparison to is when you're talking about 2 people existing within the same field, your children, there can be expectation differences.
Yeah.
2 people, Baker Mayfield, Lamar Jackson, existing within the same field, the quarterback position, 2 different expectations. Here's where I'm going to go with this. Either way for the franchise, Baker Mayfield can accomplish something that the Browns haven't accomplished in 13 years.
Okay.
Baker Mayfield, even if they lose and don't make the playoffs, 10-win season. Haven't had a 10-win season since 2007.
What confetti comes? Any? What comes from 10-win seasons?
All I'm talking about is expectations.
What's that, Matt Castle style?
Because no confetti drops unless you win the Super Bowl or win the championship. So if we want to go there, we can go there.
We can go there separate. We can go there.
No one can accomplish something Browns fans haven't experienced since 2007. Lamar Jackson has to win a Super Bowl to accomplish something that Ravens fans experienced in 2012. So my point is, Sal, Lamar Jackson still entered into a situation where he can only bring the Ravens a jubilee they haven't experienced if he wins a Super Bowl. Baker Mayfield can still bring the Browns a jubilee that they haven't experienced since 2007. So either way, it's Lamar Jackson desperately needs this more. Because the Ravens, their appetite's already been wet. I'm going to give it to you like this. Experience is expertise.
Okay.
The worst thing that has happened to Doug Peterson in Philadelphia, the worst thing that has happened to Carson Wentz in Philadelphia is that they won the Super Bowl. Because how?
Yes. You ever watch Scooby-Doo?
Rock with me.
No,
because,
I'm not rocking with you.
Okay, then I'll get you to where I'm going.
Let's go.
6-10, Chip Kelly's last year. I was there.
All right.
6-10, Doug Peterson's first year. Then you win the Super Bowl. Hasn't been done in Philadelphia Eagles history. So now all of a sudden, these last 2 years where you made the playoff is not good enough. We want another Super Bowl. It's not enough. Because the expectation and the bar was higher. If the Eagles go 4 wins after a 6-win season, be like, oh, yeah, we're just still sorry. Here's my point. The Ravens are used to excellence. You won a Super Bowl 8 years ago.
Yes.
The Browns ain't even won 10 games since 2007, Sal. So you win 10 games this year, it's like, oh, well, that was nice.
Yeah.
The Ravens, you win 10, it's like, 10 wins? What's 10 wins? I'm used to 10 wins.
Expectations can derail from achievement, and expectations can exaggerate over achievement.
Yes,
you
sir.
win once, they say, well, you come back, and you're like, wait a minute. You were just the same person asking to win once, and now you're sitting there like, bringing me more. And that could be greed. But I'm not going to go into the expectation cloud and get lost. I'm going to stay on the achievement road. And right now, Lamar Jackson, imagine this, Acho. We both come out in the same draft, and you come out as number 1, and I come out barely in the first round, number 32. and I start shining on your butt.
Yes, sir.
How do you feel when we go to the same club in the offseason? Which table do I get? The one I want. Which table do you get? The one I don't want. That's what this is. Baker Mayfield is looking at Lamar Jackson like, yeah, he's been to the playoffs twice. Okay, he's won a unanimous MVP. He's had a 14-win season. We may try and get in here with an 11-5 record. Speaking of his record right now, did you know that since expansion in 1990, that no team has missed the playoffs after starting 10-4? Baker Mayfield, Cleveland Browns. This is the most Cleveland Brown thing you could do, Baker. Not make the playoffs. Look, I'm a Clippers fan. I know how it goes. The universe can come at you really tough because of this jinx, this hoax, whatever is out there. Cleveland has been through it. Don't let Baker Mayfield now be the newest edition of that poster child of futility.
But Sel, and I'm a rock with your point, and then I'm gonna pivot it.
Be real.
You just said the exact thing that would happen if the Browns don't make the playoffs.
Yeah.
The Browns browned again.
But who will be the face of it now?
You call
Where you gonna go? You can't go Bernie Kosar.
No, that's fine.
Where you gonna go Johnny
Manziel?
Manziel?
You can't go Jim Brown. That's fine.
Where we going?
All that will happen.
Baker.
All that will happen for a day is the Browns were the Browns. If they start 10-4, miss the playoffs.
Oh no!
The Browns brown.
Ask Paul George about that. It ain't the Clippers win Clipper. It went PG. They go at you. Trust me, I know these dudes.
But if the Ravens don't make it, now we're going Lamar can't win a playoff game till Lamar can't get to the playoffs.
Good point. Good point.
Like, that's different than, in all honesty, we expect the Browns to fumble the bag. Like, realistically speaking.
Is that your point now?
I'm watching it like, hey, the Browns really about to pull this off. But in the back of my mind, I'm like, the Browns really about to pull this off? But the Ravens, it's different, Sal. There's a different expectation. But let me go here because there's so many places to go. Who was the first-round pick? Who's the number 1 overall pick? They were both first-rounders. Who's number 1? Baker. Who got all the commercials? Baker or Lamar?
Baker.
Who right now is in question of getting a contract? Baker. Lamar got more money on the line. Lamar got more money to lose. I know you hate the point of, don't talk to me about the richer person, but let me talk to you real, Sal. We're wondering, is Baker going to get a new contract? We're wondering, how large is Lamar's contract going to be? They in two different conversations.
Right.
We're wondering, is Baker even going to get a new deal? We're wondering, how big is Lamar's new deal going to be? So if Lamar can get the bigger deal, Lamar has more to lose.
Time out. I like where you try to take that one, but be real. Who would you rather be? Sometimes, my boy Max Kellerman, you know my dog over there on the other side. You know we bang on them when we see him too. What up, boy? All right, Max used to always talk about boxing. Like his fallback was boxing.
Yes, sir.
And boy, when he fell back into it, I got out the way because he knows his boxing. And sometimes you'll watch a heavyweight fight and you're like, who won? And we got to go to the scorecard. And Max always had a simple answer to that. Instead of going 10-9 or 10-8 rounds, he's like, who would you have rather been in that round? That's who won the round.
I like that.
Acho!
I like that.
I got a question for you. Who would you rather be right now in your career? Lamar Jackson or Baker Mayfield? Duh. Anyway, let's talk about this Baker Mayfield who's never made a Pro Bowl. Oh, Lamar Jackson has. Not only Pro Bowls, Lamar Jackson has been an MVP unanimous. So Baker's never made a Pro Bowl. He's never had a playoff experience, and he's never had a winning season. And you trying to tell me this dude doesn't need a playoff berth? Lamar Jackson is sitting there like, dog, I got $200 million in the bank on my extension when it happens. Guarantee you.
But it's not in the bank.
It is. I'm going to tell you why.
Okay.
He saved the coach's job, and he saved the organization in their books when they were struggling with Joe Flacco and transitioned to why they even drafted him. He has got his money guaranteed. This is a Dak situation. It's just how high you going to get paid.
But
that's all it is
correct.
for Lamar. But for Baker, Baker could turn into Jameis Winston. How high is Baker? What is Jameis making right now? One
But
million.
here's where I disagree. Ooh, I love your point. Because if it is a Dak situation, the Dak situation has been fumbled for the last year and a half.
Making $30 million is a fumble?
It's been fumbled for the last year and a half because they can't agree because Dak gave them a room for error. Dak gave the Cowboys the opportunity to say, you know what? We don't have to give you exactly what you want. If Lamar doesn't make the playoffs, he is going to give them a reason to say, you know what?
All right.
We don't have to give you exactly what you want. Because we get it, Lamar. You were a unanimous MVP. You got an individual award. You went to the Pro Bowl. You've been selected to Pro Bowl. You have some individual awards. But when it comes to this team success, I'm more like, in the playoffs, first year, you were pretty bad. Second year, you were pretty bad. Now,
500 yards is pretty bad.
89% of the yards came trailing by 10 points or more.
Hey, it's a team game.
Second year in the playoffs, you were pretty bad. Then the third year, you didn't make the playoffs, and you want us to give you $200 million to struggle in the playoffs and then not make the playoffs? Like, we would rather give Joe Flacco the money to struggle in the regular season but ball in the playoffs because he won us a Super Bowl because he balled in the playoffs. Regular season, Flacco was terrible. Statistically, Flacco was terrible.
Okay.
But in the playoffs, Flacco went crazy. We would rather that than the reversed. And I think that's a pivotal issue.
Okay, I let you off the hook because I'm a nice guy. You know me. I'm too nice, and I'm going to ask you this question again.
Yes, sir?
In your career, who would you rather be right now? Lamar Jackson or Baker Mayfield?
On the field, I'd rather be Lamar. Keep in mind, though, you've seen them commercials, and you know what money hits like in commercials. Don't get it twisted now.
Yeah,
Don't get it
but
twisted.
hold on. Let's not put the cart in front of the horse. Yeah, Baker's off to a fast start in terms of making money off the field and marketing, but how long will it last if you don't make the playoffs?
That's good.
How long will it last if you're not a franchise quarterback?
That's good.
How long will it last if you continue on this
That's
pace?
good.
Only thing about Baker Mayfield that I like is that he has potential. He has the capability. I don't hate Baker Mayfield's game. I hate his inconsistency in his same game to the point where no one is thinking of him in the same light as someone who was picked the same year as him, but at the 32nd position. Listen to this, how the universe may be whispering to Lamar Jackson. Each of the last two quarterbacks to win the MVP led their team to the Super Bowl title the following year. Remember Tom Brady won in 2017? Super Bowl. Patrick Mahomes, 2018, 2019, Super Bowl. Is Lamar Jackson next on that train to take him to the title?
I hope that. But here's the other issue, because you brought this up, so let's go here. It's about to be deeper. If you want to talk about who would you rather be,
it's not
obviously
a question.
You'd rather be Lamar.
Yeah, it's not even a conversation.
It's not a conversation. But let's be real. If you want to look at history, because the history of the NFL is how you dictate the future of the NFL. That is how management does it. That's how we as analysts do it.
I'm with you.
Quarterbacks who play the game like Lamar Jackson, a la extremely experienced in running, extremely efficient in running, their window is smaller. We can call it coincidence if you want.
It has been.
It's been smaller. Whether you want to talk about Vic, whether you want to talk about Robert Griffin, whether you want to talk about Cam Newton, call whoever you want to bring up. People who play the game the way Lamar Jackson plays the game, the window of success is smaller.
Yeah.
So if you're telling me that Lamar Jackson's highs are higher based on how he plays the game, but his window is smaller, then he needs to win sooner. I'm going to give it to you like this, Sel, because you'll understand this better than anybody in the world. When you get drafted to the NFL, you go to a rookie symposium.
Yeah.
I got drafted, I went to the rookie symposium.
I went to the first one ever.
Did you?
1997.
Go to a rookie symposium, and it's out in the cut outside of Ohio, somewhere in Ohio, outside of Cleveland. Okay. So at the rookie symposium, they told me this. This has stuck with me all my life. They say the NFL player, your starting salary is here, but by the time you're 35, it's about here. The doctor starts here salary-wise, but by the time he's 35, it's up to here. So the NFL player, your earning potential early on is extremely great, but your window for earnings is smaller because the longevity of your career is smaller. I submit it's the same thing with Lamar Jackson's style of play.
Don't you do that. Don't you wish that on that guy.
I'm not. I'm telling you history. Statistically speaking, his winning potential is here based on his style of play. Michael Vick, what was it, third or fourth year in the league, NFC Championship game. Cam Newton, fifth year in the league, Super Bowl
appearance, yeah?
But then you see that Cam Newton, his window is smaller. Mike Vick, his window was smaller. Robert Griffin, first year in the league, Offensive Rookie of the Year. Now, I'm not saying that I'm predicting Lamar Jackson. There are outliers. But if you look at statistically, his starts here, like the NFL player's salary, but that window is smaller based on style of play. For that reason, Sel, if nothing else, it is more imperative that Lamar get to the playoffs sooner because you can't win the lotto unless you buy a ticket, and he got to get these tickets early on while you can cash in.
Boy, you living up to that suit right now. You sound real presidential. You out here cooking words, cooking books.
But am I wrong, though? Am I wrong there?
You're wrong in this respect. You're not giving me the contrast in terms of the comp.
Okay.
If you're a #1 overall pick and you continue to have no playoff experiences, no playoff bursts, you don't have a winning season on your record until this year. And if you don't show anything that is special about what you can do personally or what you can do for this team, I could give you the comps of #1 overall picks that find themselves in backup situations. We mentioned Jameis Winston before. So Lamar Jackson, to me, in summation, is real money. You know, like old school money, small faces, big faces, all that competition. He's real money. You know what Baker Mayfield is? As long as he's in Cleveland, just hood rich. Coming up, Tom Brady has the Bucs in the playoffs for the first time in a long time. Oh, it's cool to be in Cleveland. We'll tell you if his move to Tampa is already a success. That's next. Speak for yourself. You only look good because you're in Cleveland. That's it. That ain't it.
What's up, Speak for Yourself listeners? It's your boy Shay Sharp, co-host of FS1's Undisputed. I wanted to tell you about my new podcast, Club Shay Shay, where we always do something before two something. Each week, I sit down with a guest for a drink and conversation, and as host and proprietor of Club Shay Shay, I welcome in esteemed guests such as Snoop Dogg, Floyd Money Mayweather, LeVar Ball, Isaiah Thomas, just to mention a few. Whether I'm talking to an athlete, a musician, an actor, or a lifelong friend, Club Shay Shay is a place where people share inspiring and motivational stories about their journeys to prominence. The new episode drops every Monday on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Subscribe to Club Shay Shay now and make sure you never miss a new episode. Now, back to Speak for Yourself.
Welcome back to Speak for Yourself. Tom Brady switched from the Patriots to the Buccaneers. That was the most talked about move this offseason. Well, now Brady has led Tampa to the playoffs, their first playoff appearance since 2007, and he's near the top of the league in touchdown passes and yards. So, Marcellus, let's talk. Okay, is Tom Brady's move to Tampa already a success?
Yes, it's last time that I checked. Yes, it's a damn success. You know what's funny about Tom Brady right now? Because he's the most decorated player in NFL history.
Yes, sir.
Seriously, moment of silence and reflection of his greatness. Like, okay. Damn!
Quick. Like, that was way too quick a moment of silence.
Dog, we on TV, people like, hey, keep it going. We know he's still playing. But being real, dog, there's been over 25,000 players to step on the football field in an NFL game. And Tom Brady looks at every single one of them in their eyes. No matter who you're talking about, Joe Montana, Charles Haley, all these guys with 4 or 5 rings, it doesn't matter. And he looks at them from up high because he's the most decorated football player ever. You know what the problem is in perception right now? A billionaire just got $1 million check. He looking at that like, okay. You are looking at it like,
that's a good take.
Okay.
I like that.
Because that's what the problem is. What Tom Brady just did, Baker Mayfield is like, I would love that. Hey, Tom, over here, let me get that $1 million. Let me get that playoff berth. Let me do what you've done in Tampa Bay so far. And what has he done? He checked a couple of boxes that people were challenging him to check. What was the first box? Win without Belichick. Simple as that. Keep it simple. You're going to leave Bill Belichick? Oh, we thought you were a game manager or a system quarterback. Go somewhere else without Bill Belichick and his influence and win. Check. Now, what's the second box they asked him? Can you have an impact, winning culture mindset, cultural impact anywhere else? Or was it all Belichick's way, Patriot way? Went to Tampa Bay, same Tampa Bay that has not made the playoffs since 2007. Check. Uh-oh. They haven't won double-digit games since 2010, a decade ago. Tom Brady, check. Hell yes, it's a success. We're not going to get into this Super Bowl or bust conversation, but I'm going to let you take your lap, because if you take me there, I'm coming back with the counting. Let's do it.
Every now and then, Sale, on this show, I try to take you out with a headshot. Sometimes I understand I might not win the round off the decision, so I come out the gate just throwing haymakers, hoping I can knock you out.
All right.
But this block, I want you to die slowly. I'm going to hit you with some rim shots.
You going to gut me up?
I'm going to hit you with some rim shots.
Let's go.
It's not a success, Marcellus Wiley. And it's not a success for Tom Brady because, like you just said, if that billionaire makes $1 million, it ain't a success for him.
Come on now.
It ain't a success for the billionaire. Your experience is your expertise, right?
I'm listening.
That's fair.
That's me.
By the grace of God, I just had a New York Times best-selling book.
Yeah.
Premiered on the New York Times bestseller list at number 3. McConaughey was in front of me in a book, Humans of New York. If I write my next book, Marcellus Wiley, and I make the New York Times bestsellers list and debut at 15, it's not a success.
That's not a success?
Not a success.
Coming from an author who didn't make the New York Times bestseller?
It's not a success.
That's not? I'm going to tell you it is.
Because my bar is higher. If I sell 10,000 copies, it's not a success.
Okay, well, I'll
for me.
Yeah, me either.
Because my bar now is higher.
Yeah.
Tom Brady, Marcellus Wiley, 18 years as a starter in New England. 18 years as a starter, the full starter, full seasons. 9 times you made the Super Bowl, 50% of the time. More than 50% of the time you made the Super Bowl, you won the Super Bowl. It ain't a success to make the playoffs for Tom Brady. It's not a success.
Wow.
You used to making the playoffs. I'm going to give it to you like this because we can go cross sports, we can go cross-dimensional out here. It's not a success for Serena Williams to make the U.S. Open. It's not a success.
To win it?
To qualify.
Just to qualify?
It's not a success to qualify.
That's real.
It ain't a success for Tiger to qualify for the Masters. It wasn't a success for LeBron James to go to Miami and make it to the finals year one and lose to the Mavs. Because remember what happened year two? Well, I believe it was game 6 before playing the Boston Celtics. He said, I had to win. Because if not, Pat Riley would have torn this whole thing up. Because LeBron James knew when I went to Miami to join greats, Dwayne Wade, Chris Bosh, greats at that time, it wasn't a success for me to get there. And we compare Tom Brady to LeBron James. Some compare him to Jordan, but the current athletes playing, we compare him to LeBron. It's not a success for GOATs to do good things. It's not a success for greats to do good things. Greats, it's a great thing. That's a success.
But the only way he became the GOAT was having great seasons.
Correct.
And the only way to have great seasons is to qualify for the playoffs.
Absolutely.
And you can't lose sight of that. Like, if Jeff Bezos is sitting there laughing at $1 million check, he's out of touch.
He probably is, though.
But I don't know that. But the point is, I don't care if he is or not. The fact is, you can't look at something that is the deemed qualifier to the ultimate goal as not success. Because this is Tom Brady we're talking about. Who was Tom Brady? A 6th-round pick. Has Tom Brady forgot who he was? No. He even talked about it when he was in Detroit, taking off his pads at halftime. It's like, wow, my career started here 300 games ago. And it brings back memories, nostalgia. I reflect on that. Tom Brady is not out of touch. So I'm going to use Tom Brady against Tom Brady.
Please do.
Look at this. He changed the identity, be real, of the most losing franchise in sports history. Not the Clippers. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers had the most losing seasons in sports history. And Tom Brady shows up, and all of a sudden we are talking Super Bowl contention as long as Tom Brady in the building. But you want to talk about Super Bowl or bust. You try to reconstruct it. You try to say it in a different way. But basically you're saying if Tom Brady doesn't win it all, then how is this a success? Okay, well, by that same standard, Brett Favre was a failure in 95% of his seasons because he didn't win it all, 18 of his 19 seasons. How about Drew Brees? 94% of his seasons, 17 of 18 years. He ain't win a damn Super Bowl. Aaron Rodgers, the same, 11 of 12. Peyton Manning, 87%. Dan Marino, 100% of the time was a failure. That's what you're telling me? Since Dan Marino, who is one of the all-time greats, has never won it, he wasn't a success.
No, here's what I'm telling you. It's an accomplishment. It is not a success. An accomplishment is to get something done. They won 10 games. That is getting something done. A success.
And playoff berth.
And a playoff berth. That is getting something
10 games
done.
don't mean a playoff berth. Ask Baker.
That's true. Okay. That is getting something done. Success is accomplishing the aim or purpose.
Oh,
that's the difference.
So there's only one
Success.
successful quarterback, one successful team a year.
It depends on your aim or purpose. What was Justin Herbert's purpose this year?
To just sit and learn?
To prove after he became the starter.
Oh, okay.
To
That
prove
changed.
he can play quarterback.
Yeah.
What was Dwayne Haskins' purpose during that last game? To win, so you can keep your job. Dwayne Haskins wasn't trying to win a Super Bowl last week. He was just trying to win the game. Tom Brady's aim or purpose in going to Tampa was not to make the playoffs.
Don't do that to Tom
Tom
Brady.
Brady's aim or purpose in going to Tampa was not to lead the league in passing yards. His aim and his purpose in going to Tampa was to get to and win a Super Bowl. So is it an accomplishment? Yes. Is it an accomplishment if I write another book? Yes. I've accomplished that task.
Yeah,
But it's not a success unless I accomplish my aim or purpose.
Look, I understand we're both trying to attack the word success and figure out which door is going to open it the best, unlock it, so we all can understand. But there's a different definition for the same word. It could be a literal definition or a figurative.
Talk to me.
Like, be real. I played 10 years in NFL. Our aim, our purpose, our goal was to win a Super Bowl every year. But every single player who says that knows that the reality is you won't. Because 31 teams are going to have to go back to the drawing board, and one team is going to say, confetti, come here. So if I'm looking at that from Tom Brady's eyes, he even knows that, and he's the most decorated player ever. Tom Brady has played now, this is his 21st season. How many Super Bowls has he won? 6 out of 20 so far.
Yes, sir.
Are you, half the time you're saying Tom Brady is a failure? Are you saying 14 of 20 times Tom Brady is a failure? Come on. The definition of success has to embrace that Tom Brady in those other 14 seasons was still a success.
I think it depends on how you look at it, because I understand where you're going.
Yeah.
And I used to think that. My second to last year in Philly, My second year in Philly, we go 10-6. We make the playoffs. Chip Kelly's our head coach.
Boom.
My third year in the league, second year in Philly, we go 10-6 again.
Boom.
But now we lose. We beat the New York Giants on New Year's Day to go 10-6, but now we don't make the playoffs. Same record.
Okay.
But we don't make the playoffs. At the end of the game, I'm taking out my shoulder pads. I'm like, hey, 10-6 ain't bad, y'all. 10-6 ain't bad.
Did you say that out loud?
I said it out loud.
Chill.
I said it out loud. I was like, hey, the season's over. We just beat the Giants in New York. We end the season at 10-6, but we can't make the playoffs because Cowboys had already
said that
clinched.
aloud.
Malcolm Jenkins looks at me
I was about to say.
because Malcolm Jenkins has already won a Super Bowl back in 2009-10 with the Saints. So Jenkins is looking at me like, 10-6?
Like,
what you mean that ain't bad? 10-6 is terrible. I'm looking like, well, my rookie year in Cleveland, I won 5 games. Last year, we won 10 games, and we were all celebrating.
I feel
like,
you.
we won 10 games last year on the same team, and we made the playoffs. We were happy. So this year, we won 10 games. My third year in the league, I'm still kind of young. I'm like, hey, 10-6 ain't bad, y'all. Malcolm Jenkins looks at me like, Acho, the hell you talking about? 10-6 is terrible. Why? Because his barometer for success is the aim or the purpose. And Malcolm Jenkins had won a Super Bowl. So his aim in playing a season is to win a Super Bowl. My aim is to do pretty good. 10 wins for me, I'm like, hey, that was a success. 10 wins for him was like, that's terrible.
Okay.
For Tom Brady, making the playoffs, bro, that don't mean nothing.
Interesting. Maybe we need to look at it from this perspective. Because you, when we're talking Baker Mayfield, will continue to tell me the zip code and how Cleveland is such a bad franchise that anything he does should be deemed hood rich. That's what you tell me every time, Baker. Well, he's on the Browns, and the last time the Browns. That's the same with the Tampa Bay Bucks, but worse with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So how come I don't hear the same kind of support for Tom Brady in this situation? The question is Tom Brady's move to Tampa already a success? For the most losing franchise in sports history, for a franchise has not won, has not had double digits.
I see your
You're talking about Tom Brady.
our disconnect.
And Bruce Arians, 7-9, changed quarterbacks.
Okay.
10 wins, maybe 11 wins postseason? Come on.
Let me get some of this. Let me get some of this.
You want some ribs?
I need just a little bit.
Little bit of ribs.
All
right, I got you, baby.
It's a success for Tampa.
Thank you.
It's not a success for Tom Brady. And I think that's where we differ. If Marcellus, if your spouse were to come on this show and get through this show, and she was to take your job as a coach for one day to get through the show, it would be a success for the show.
Yeah.
Because we got through the show.
Right.
But if you were to get through the show, it's not a success for you. Because you've been got through a show. It's easy for you to come up here and do a 2-hour show or a 90-minute show or a 60-minute show because you've done radio. So it's not a success for you to accomplish one show. Now it's a success for Speak for Yourself, but for Marcellus Wiley, it's not a success. If your wife were to take a spot in a seat and get through the show, it's a success for her.
I'm hitting her up right now. Keep talking. She's trying to get on.
The difference between Tom Brady and Tampa, it's a success for Tampa because they're accomplishing something that they, the organization, hasn't accomplished in a while. But for Tom Brady, who can wake up every year and go to the playoffs. Wake up, go to the playoffs. Wake up, go to the playoffs. It's not a success for him. That is, I think, where we differ.
Okay, we could differ there, but damn, Tom Brady, 14 years of his career, he wasn't a Super Bowl champion. And this could potentially be another one. I just can't look at that as not a success because you went to a situation that needed cultivation, that needed a winning culture, that needed your spirit, your attitude, your performance. You gave it all to them, and all of a sudden they crossed the threshold they struggled to do before you with the same coach. And that's not a success? Boy, you're a harsh critic. Don't have no kids. Them kids in trouble. Coming up, Ezekiel Elliott was called a premier running back by his boss. Well, we'll tell you if that's still true. That's next. Speak for yourself. I told him, mean daddy. Look at this.
Hey, Speak for Yourself listeners. It's Charlotte Wilder here to tell you about my new podcast with Mark Titus called the People's Sports Podcast. It comes out every Thursday, and Mark and I take one of the big stories of the week, and then we go off on tangents you never saw coming. This might mean that we start talking about the Dodgers winning the World Series and end up wondering if Knicks fans deserve happiness. Or begin with LeBron's greatness and end up drafting our ultimate beer league softball team made up of old athletes. Whatever it is, the only rule of the show is that it has to be fun and funny because these days we could all use as many laughs as we can get. So check it out wherever you get your podcasts and come down weird sports rabbit holes with us. We can't wait to have you. Now, back to Speak for Yourself.
Saturday is a marquee Big East matchup as number 11 Creighton battles Providence. That's Saturday at noon Eastern on Fox and the Fox Sports app. Welcome back to Speak for Yourself. On Sunday, Ezekiel Elliott rushed for over 100 yards for only the second time this season, helped the Cowboys' playoff hopes alive. But Zeke could end the season with the fewest rushing yards and touchdowns in his career. Despite the low numbers, Stephen Jones said, quote, "No one has ever doubted in our organization where Zeke is going. We feel like he is a premier running back. Got to get it all back together, and I think he showed Sunday what he can do." What did he do? So, Acho, is Ezekiel Elliott still a premier running back?
I got to say no, but it's not necessarily my feeling. It's not my opinion. It's the facts of the situation. So it depends how you define premier. Now, when you're talking about Zeke, what made Zeke a premier running back once upon a time? He was extremely powerful, extremely explosive, and a crazy receiving threat out the backfield. What made Le'Veon Bell a premier running back? He could do it out the backfield. He could do it catching the ball. McCaffrey, same thing. Kamara, the same thing. That's what made Ezekiel Elliott a premier running back. And the fact of the matter is, statistically, he just doesn't show it anymore. And I could talk and again, try to give y'all superfluous, fanciful words. But instead, I'm just going to show y'all a very simple full screen.
Oh, man.
And we talk about beast mode, but right now you got to look at least mode. Look at Zeke. 2016. You can start at the top, actually. The top is 2020. Look at his rushing yards per game, Sal. But more importantly, look at his reception long. Everybody's going to tell you all about rushing yards. But what makes running backs premier outside of Derrick Henry is their ability to be both. Zeke's reception long was 19 yards this year. Then 2019, it's going down. His rushing yards per game were greater and his reception long was greater. 2018, yards per game greater, reception long greater. 2017, yards per game greater, reception long greater. 2016, the year he came into the league, yards per game nearly double and reception long nearly 4 times as great. Zeke has gotten exponentially less dangerous. So if the things, Marcellus, that made Ezekiel Elliott premier are no longer being displayed, then I don't know how you can say he's premier. What do they say? Potential energy is simply energy that's yet to be used or yet to be reached.
Okay.
So is Zeke potentially a premier running back? If you were to ask me that, different question. But if you're asking me, is Zeke currently a premier running back? I'm excited to hear your opinions and your feelings, but factually, you'd be wrong.
Oh, okay. One, I'm the one on this show that started this Zeke decline conversation. Stop, thief! Like, let him wear our princely guards. You up here stealing my full screens. Heard you stole Nick Rice yesterday, too. Is that what you do, Acho? Yeah, look at it. You know why you laughing, America? Because this boy is caught. Plagiarism. I can't do. I started this gangster and this the thanks I get? Hello. All right, let me get back on topic. There's a difference between regression, decline, and just, you sorry. When you talk about premier status, it is not given. It is earned. And Ezekiel Elliott earned premier status. We're talking about 3 Pro Bowls in his first 4 years that put him up there. Now, in 1 year of playing football, in his first year rookie campaign, which was amazing, you weren't a premier running back. People were put on notice. Kind of like how the Pro Bowl goes. They always say it takes 2 years to make the Pro Bowl. The first one to be noticed and the second year to be recognized. Zeke was noticed as like, damn, that boy came out of Ohio State ready. And then the second year, oh, no, he's one of the premier running backs. So if it takes you longer than a year to get it, it's going to take you longer than a year to lose it in my world. Ezekiel Elliott is still the 8th leading rusher in the NFL. Despite being in decline, despite regressing, as you showed in my full screen. So the funny thing about Zeke now is what heights has he fallen from is what we need to assess.
Yes, sir.
Because he's flying still at a higher altitude than a lot of these running back planes on other teams. But you're saying that he's not premier anymore. He has too much resume, too much of a body of work for us to go that far. I will call Zeke out like I did early in the season. And yes, he is in decline because of injuries, because of the offensive line, because of retirements, whatever you want to say. No Dak, the running game is the focus by defense, whatever it wants to be. The point is he still a premier running back? Until this dude drops out at least the top 10 after putting up that body of work, oh yeah, he's still premier for me. Got to bring in Fox NFL analyst LeVar Arrington. So LeVar, is Ezekiel Elliott still a premier running back?
He's absolutely not a premier running back today. It is what it is. If you look at the quote that Stephen Jones made, it's pretty interesting because if you kind of look at it at face value, no one has doubted, all right, ever in the organization where Zeke is what? Where he's going. All right?
Oh, stop. You want that?
You want that?
I hate the people in the movie theater that talk. Shut up during the movie. Shut up. What?
Do you want that to sizzle in your spirit, or do you want to?
I do want it to sizzle right now. I don't feel it.
Because here's the thing:
add some water to the.
If he's premier, then why do we have to not doubt where he's going? Why can't we just live in where he is? All right. So to me, I think it's a damning.
Oh Lord. Wait, Lamar. Wait, Lamar. Let that sizzle. Let that sizzle. People missed that. America missed it. Sale just now caught it. People missed that bar you just dropped. Please, one more time, Reverend.
What I'm trying to say is you don't have to give a quote about doubting where you think he's going if he's premier, because he should already be what he is. That's the point. Stephen Jones said it. He probably didn't even mean to do it, but he did. The reality here is Zeke may have the potential, as you mentioned, to possibly be that premier back once again. And maybe we're not going to doubt that he can go towards that road, that landmark of being a premier running back once again. We don't doubt that. But as it stands today, you're not a premier running back. It's where you have to go, not where you are.
Man, look, LeVar, you weren't here yesterday when I gave Greg Jennings his props because calling games has changed how he analyzes the game. You having your new radio show, Up in Game, has changed how you analyze these conversations as well. Good Lord, LeVar Arrington. See, I'm a guy who's been in a position of being a premier defensive end and then a bum. And I went through that process of the decline. And it's funny to hear you say and hear you express what Stephen Jones was really trying to get at. I remember it brought back memories of no, Wally's going to be fine. And I never used to hear that because Wally was fine.
Right.
And it's crazy to hear that. Now, let's be real. It's perception reality because he's still number 8 in the NFL when this is a passing league. And if you don't have a quarterback, good luck trying to be a running back. Look at him in terms of the other 7 running backs in front of him. 4 of the top 7 rushers are on playoff teams. That's barely half, a little over half. That means there are a few other guys who are not. The running game doesn't dictate outcome like it used to in the 90s and the 80s. So Ezekiel Elliott sitting there with a patchwork offensive line and no quarterback for real. I love you, Andy Dalton, of late, but stop playing. What are we saying about Ezekiel Elliott? That his worst performances ever are still top 8 in the entire NFL? I don't think that guy is out of premier status if every other year of his career he's been premier.
I think the problem you have to remember, because I looked up that same stat, Marcellus, but I found the deception in it.
Yeah.
See, Derrick Henry leads the NFL in rushing attempts, and he leads the NFL in yards. Dalvin Cook is second in the NFL in rushing attempts, and he's second in the NFL in yards. But Ezekiel Elliott is 5th in the NFL in rushing attempts. So I would hope, Sel, that he would be 5th in yards or better. The problem is he's 5th in rushing attempts, but he's 8th in yards. So if everyone is working for the same hourly wage, how come Zeke is working 5th but getting paid less?
I can answer that because he ain't got a quarterback. So guess what? He got to do the dishes and serve the meals.
Well, and I would submit, I would say that's right.
Yeah.
Except for I look at James Robinson, running back for the Jaguars. I can't name their quarterback.
I ain't talking to you.
He's 4th in the NFL in attempts, but he's 3rd in yards. So if your biggest bargaining chip again for Zeke is, well, he's still 8th in the NFL and top 10 in rushing, you got to remember, he's 5th in attempts. So even what he's doing and how much y'all are doing for him, he's not matching that in the output. The input to Zeke is not matching the output from what Zeke has given y'all. I tried to make the argument for what you said.
I got it.
I was like, wait, Zeke is still top 10. But then I found out that the devil was in the details. I don't like messing with the devil unless I find him in them details.
You know, what's interesting is Alvin Kamara doesn't have more rushing yards than than Ezekiel Elliott, but I would say that Alvin Kamara is a premier running back. I'm basing my criteria off of this and this alone. If I were Stephen Jones, if I were the owner or GM chooser of my talent in the draft, or who I'm going to trade for, or who I'm going to make my franchise guy, I'm asking myself, would I choose this guy to be my guy? Is this my premier feature guy that I'm going to put on my team? And I just kept coming to the answer, no. I could not come to the conclusion that if I had the opportunity to choose from this lineup of running backs on the list of premier running backs, Ezekiel Elliott does not compare to those guys on the premier level right today. He does not. And his reputation speaks highly of him. But you cannot exist and survive off the merits of what you've done in the past. It's only what you've done now. And lately, it just doesn't add up to say premier.
Okay, let me lane shift my argument then, because we're staying in the present moment and you guys are making strong arguments. Let me lane shift to the historical argument. Coming into this season, only 3 players in NFL history average more rushing yards per game in their career than Ezekiel Elliott. Tell me if you like these names. Jim Brown, Barry Sanders, Terrell Davis.
No doubt.
Players like Eric Dickerson, my dog, my favorite running back ever, and Walter Payton were looking up to Zeke. So you're saying in 1 year that hasn't even been finished yet, this team may even make the postseason. If you want to say that Ezekiel Elliott now has lost his premier status that damn fast, boy, we living in a different world.
I just got a little something, Sel.
Okay, go
I
get
got a
it,
little
go get
something.
Right,
because what you're
get it.
saying is Ezekiel Elliott was a premier running back. And what Stephen Jones said was Ezekiel Elliott is going to be a premier running back. But the fact of the matter is Ezekiel Elliott is not currently a premier running back.
Okay, you're right, Acho. So that means he's falling down to Eric Dickerson and Walter Payton level. Sound premier to me. Coming up, there's a game of musical chairs at quarterback in Miami. We'll tell you if we love or hate this strategy. That's next. Speak for yourself. Damn, y'all. You're watching Speak for Yourself. Marcellus Wiley. You look good today. Emmanuel Acho over there. All right, let's head to Miami, where Ryan Fitzpatrick from Harvard replaced the struggling Tua Saturday and worked his Fitz magic to a win over the Raiders. But Brian Flores says Tua will get the start Sunday in a must-win for Miami. The coach said he's open to using both quarterbacks, saying, quote, 2-person, 3-person quarterback, 5-person quarterback, whatever we need to do to win. So, Acho, love or hate the Dolphins' 2 quarterback system?
I love it. If Brian Flores likes it, I love it. That's how I live by it. Here's why, Sel, and I'm going to give you a take that's not lazy, because you know ain't nothing about me in my life lazy right now. The boy be working. In the game of football, wide receivers, they rotate. In the game of football, running backs, they rotate. In the game of football, linebackers, they rotate. In the game of football, defensive linemen, they rotate. All skill positions actually in football rotate, and oftentimes they rotate for the benefit of the team. You have a possession receiver, you may have a speed receiver. You have a coverage linebacker, you have a run-stopping linebacker. You have a run-stopping defensive end, you have a pass-rushing defensive end. You have a pass-catching running back. You have a running back that you want to hit the holes in the goal line. You rotate your players in the game of football to give you a competitive advantage. So, if the Miami Dolphins, as weird as it may be, need to rotate their quarterbacks to give them a competitive advantage, then why does that seem so asinine and why does that seem so far-fetched? If you need to bring in Ryan Fitzpatrick in relief, then do so. If Tua is not as great in relief, then that is perfectly fine. Ride out Tua, then bring in Fitzpatrick as need be. I don't have an issue with it. So, Sel, I think the problem at hand is we oftentimes in our life and in football, we try to put people inside boxes we live.
Yeah, that's a real thing in this world.
Well, I don't want to work at this place, so I won't. I'm not friends with these type of people, so you shouldn't be. I don't go overseas to these countries, so you shouldn't. I don't date these type of people, so you. We try to make people live inside the boxes that we live in. Brian Flores doesn't need to live inside the box that the rest of the NFL coaches live in. Because again, if every position, skill positions, because for y'all at home, you call linebackers and tight ends big skill. You call running backs and receivers skill. But the quarterback is the most skilled position of them all. So if just about every skill position on the football field rotates to give a team a competitive advantage, why do we seem like it's so far-fetched when the quarterback does it?
I like that take, for real. I didn't expect to like that take either. You're not wrong, you're just not right. You know what? I'm going to go in living color on this one. When you talk about two quarterbacks, hated it, I hated it. And you came out here. The reason I didn't love your take, I liked it, because you lied. Once again, I told you, call me a liar a lot. I think you're projecting.
Where?
I really do. I think you're a projector. All skilled players rotate. Kickers are skill players. Do they rotate?
The kickers are not.
Oh, they're not human beings either now? You want to keep going?
No, because you know
you better interrupt me, because I'm going to flow on you.
Because you know this. You have, at least at the college level, when you're not limited by rosters, you have a field goal kicker and you may have a kickoff kicker.
But
we have that.
Yes, but those are different positions doing different things. I'm talking about at the same position. Fitzpatrick and Tua are going to do the same thing. Hopefully one does it better, right? So all skill players don't sit there and stay stagnant. Some of them rotate, some of them don't. Do free safeties. Free safeties are like the mind of the defense. Do they rotate?
No, sir.
Nah, G. The starting corners. I ain't talking about you nickels and dimes and quarters. Do they rotate?
That's wrong.
Yeah. Do the offensive linemen?
They're not skilled.
You ever go? See, you didn't play in the trenches. Yeah, they skilled. The big old boys. They are skilled. My point is, I like your take still. I'm not going to take anything away from it. But the reason I hate this is because Brian Flores has done everything right since he's been in Miami, right? He's done everything perfectly, whether it's by the book or off color. Even trolling Kenny Stills was amazing with Jay-Z songs. It was just like everything he's done has turned to gold. And then he's going to try this high wire act where he's way up high balancing between two quarterbacks and hoping that works. I would hate for this to fall right on his face, right on his lap, and then all of a sudden, all of that good equity that Brian Flores has built up goes away. Think about it. He's creating a Chicago Bears scenario earlier in the season when we saw Mr. Trubisky, who had not lost a game yet, was losing the game, yank him out. Now, wait a minute. Why are you yanking him in a game he's losing when he hasn't lost yet? Oh, that was loaded. That was in June, July, or whenever you saw Nick Foles in practice one day, you said, whenever we can, we will insert him. So this is a situation that seems like it's loaded. Why would you draft Tua, number 5 overall, and then not have the conviction to commit to your future? I don't know if you're a candy man. You got a lot of muscles over there. I used to eat a lot of Cheetos, Hawaiian Punch, and candy. And my favorite candy was Now and Later. Sweet as hell. Don't bite it. Just let it go.
I got a cavity.
Right.
I just got a cavity.
Thank you. Now and Later. You know why? Because if I'm going to commit to Tua, it's for now and later. It's the sweetest way to approach this. Brian Flores, you up here doing this. Good luck, brother. Hope you don't fall down.
Here's the difference between me and you, and not just on our takes, but on our candy likes and dislikes. See, I liked Warheads.
What's that, the little ones?
The Warheads were sour at first. But if you hold on to them long enough, they get sweet.
Okay.
Because Ryan Fitzpatrick is sour through about 3 quarters. But when it comes down to it, at the end of it, the Warheads get sweet, and so is Ryan Fitzpatrick, sir.
Like it.
Only a fool learns from his mistakes, but a wise man learns from the mistakes of others.
Oh, I love it.
It's not a Wileyism, but it's a great quote.
I'm going to steal it.
Only a fool learns from his mistakes, but a wise man learns from the mistakes of others. Brian Flores is actually learning from the mistakes of Matt Nagy in the Chicago Bears. Because Matt Nagy made the right decision when bringing in the greatest relief quarterback of all time, Nick Foles. Chicago Bears up, their record is currently 2-0. They're playing the Atlanta Falcons. Mr. Trubisky struggling. Bring in Nick Foles. Nick Foles goes on a tear, 3 touchdown passes. They win the game. But Matt Nagy made the mistake when he said, I'm going to start Nick Foles the next week. Because Nick Foles as a starter, that ability is in question. Nick Foles in relief, that ability you cannot question. Undoubtedly one of the greatest. Ryan Fitzpatrick, bring him in relief. Because Brian Flores understands in relief, Ryan Fitzpatrick can dominate. So I don't have an issue with Brian Flores being a wise man, learning from the mistakes of others. The foolish decision would be this. Ooh, Ryan Fitzpatrick, 180 yards over 3 possessions against the Raiders, won that game. I'm going to start you the next week. That's the foolish position. The wise position is to still say, no, Tua, I'm going to start you because I understand what Tua does well,
Okay.
and I understand Tua's limitations.
Okay, I got a full screen real quick. I got it in quick. I'm going to say, stop. Tua time. Let me get my full screen in right now. Who has a higher win percentage? Who has a better touchdown to interception ratio? Tua. And Tua has not been in the league as long as Ryan Fitzpatrick. And Ryan Fitzpatrick is comfortable not only in this system, but in his presence as a leader on this team in this league. Stick to Tua, man. I understand he's going through his growing pains, but how can he grow if you don't accept some of those pains? Coming up, the NFC East title is up for grabs this weekend. We'll tell you if Washington or Dallas could do more damage in the playoffs. That's next. Speak for yourself. Dallas. I like that one.
Welcome back to Speak for Yourself. Let's head to the NFC East, where the Cowboys and Washington both have a shot at winning the division this weekend. Dallas is on a 3-game tear, and they're averaging 36 points per game in that span. Now, on the other side, Washington still controls their own destiny. If they beat the Eagles, even though they've dropped 2 games in a row, they would still make the playoffs. So, Marcellus,
Yes, sir.
which NFC East team could do more damage in the playoffs, Washington or Dallas?
What can Washington do in the playoffs? Of course, it's the Dallas Cowboys. I asked a question that I'm going to answer. Who's the quarterback of the Washington football team this week and going forward if they were to win in advance?
Taylor Heineken.
Taylor Heineke. You ain't getting drunk off of him. What do you mean Heineken?
I thought it was after the drink.
That's my point. Taylor Heineke, because we don't know what's going on with Alex Smith coming off injury. Taylor Heineke, I love you, Taylor Heineke, but anytime you're on a depth chart lower than Dwayne Haskins was, look at these records. Alex Smith, 4-1. Dwayne Haskins, 1-5. Kyle Allen, 1-3. Imagine you're in practice and you're watching Dwayne Haskins, and then you're watching Kyle Allen, and then you see Taylor, and he works than all of them. What do you think he's going to do in a game that you have to go against stars? Andy Dalton, 3-0 in his last 3 starts. Getting the playmakers involved. Tell me if you know these names since you didn't know Taylor Heineke. Ezekiel Elliott, premier. CeeDee Lamb, rookie of the year, if they gave it to only receivers. Michael Gallup, Justin Jefferson. Michael Gallup, Amari Cooper, real name stars playing the best ball they played all year. There's not a chance in hell that Washington is going to do more damage than the Dallas Cowboys if they were to get into the playoffs.
This is very easy, sir. Washington is a more dangerous team if they were to get into the playoffs.
You don't believe it?
And no, I fervently believe it, because look at the quarterbacks in the NFC in the playoffs. You're talking about Drew Brees. You're talking about Russell Wilson. You're talking about Tom Brady. You're talking about Aaron Rodgers. Marcellus, the worst thing you can try to do to defeat fire is with fire itself. I'd prefer to defeat fire with water, well, preferably a fire extinguisher. And you talk about those quarterbacks and their offensive firepower. So how do you defeat them? With the fire extinguisher, which is the Washington football team's defense. Chase Young, fire extinguisher. Sweat, fire extinguisher. Pass defense, fire extinguishing. The pass defense for Washington, number 4.
Yeah, that's
Pass defense as far as touchdowns allowed, number 3. Cowboys pass defense as far as touchdowns allowed, number 29. Cowboys pass defense, number 11. So if I want to defeat these great NFC quarterbacks, I'm going to have to do it with a great defense. What made Bill Belichick so good was because he intentionally took out your best weapon. If you had a great running game, he make you pass.
Give me that.
You have a great passing game, he makes you run. You have a great star receiver, use the other guy. Bill Belichick intentionally took away your best weapon. Washington will incidentally take away your best weapons because Washington just happens to do great what you happen to do great. They just happen to be able to defeat what you happen to be able to excel on. I'll end you like this, Marcellus.
No, you won't.
What you're banking on, this is what Marcellus Wiley is banking on. He's banking on a quarterback who is 0-4 in the playoffs to outduel a quarterback who has 6 Super Bowls. Marcellus Wiley is banking on a quarterback who's 0-4 in the playoffs to outduel a quarterback who has a Super Bowl and 3 MVPs to beat. What Marcellus Wiley is banking on is for a quarterback who's 0-4 in the playoffs to outduel a quarterback who's the greatest quarterback of all time as far as completion percentage. What Marcellus Wiley is banking on is a quarterback who's 0-4 in the playoffs to outduel a quarterback who's the second best passer rating of all time of quarterbacks to start at least 50 games. I'm not going to bank on the Cowboys offense outdueling the other great offenses in the NFC. Give me a great defense that can put those fires out.
Siri, give me Taylor Heineke's wins and losses as a starting quarterback. Oh, she cursed. She was like, hell no. Nut chin. You hear that? She didn't say anything because you ain't got nothing there. 0-1. Hold on. I'd rather be 0-4 Andy Dalton in the playoffs, but a real player. than Tyler Heineke. I am not dissing you, Tyler Heineke. I'm dissing your resume.
Taylor or Tyler?
Taylor.
His first name's
Tyler,
not complicated.
Okay, you're right. Tyler Heineke. We messing this dude's name up all the way. This is my real point. He is going to lead the 30th ranked offense in the NFL in the playoffs and do something. I don't give a damn how great your defense is. I've been on the number one scoring defense. I've been on the number one total defense. You could have a tremendous game and only give up 7 points, 14 points. But are we going to score? Is Taylor Heineke going to lead the 30th ranked offense in the NFL to score any points against all those great quarterbacks in the NFC? Hell no. Coming up, Big Ben is sitting Sunday, and he might not be helping his backup. We'll tell you if this is a bad look. That's next. Speak for yourself. Tyler, welcome back. The Steelers are the 3rd seed in the AFC, so Mike Tomlin said Ben Roethlisberger will not play Sunday against the Browns. In his place will be Mason Rudolph, who has 8 career starts. But NFL Network's Michael Silver says not to expect a lot of help from Big Ben, adding, quote, I'm told they really don't have much of a relationship. Ooh, the bar is back, but Acho. Is it a bad look that Big Ben doesn't have a relationship with his backup quarterback?
It's a bad look, but it's not a bad thing. Like, it doesn't look great, but it's not bad in and of its existence. What I dislike about NFL fans and even analysts at times, we've seen it recently, we act as if football's a game when we want to, but then it's a profession when we don't. We act as if football's a profession when we want to, but it's a game when we don't. What do I mean? So, I would not tweet about, man, I'm so glad my cousin just got cut from their job. They were terrible at it. But that's what we do about athletes. It's a job. And we celebrate when people lose their job. We celebrate when people gain their job. We act as though football is a game when it's convenient. No, it's a profession. Now, let me ask you at home watching this. If somebody were hired to take your job, who was younger, who was healthier, who's supposed to be able to do the job better, would you want them to succeed? Would you be best of friends with them? No. If the accountant was hired to replace you, you wouldn't be like, hey, let me show you how to do exactly what I did. And because you're younger and healthier, you might be able to do it better. If the financial planner was hired to replace you, you wouldn't tell them, hey, let me tell you how to do exactly what I did, and hopefully you can be better than me at that. So I have no issue with it at the nucleus of it. Now, the exterior of it all, terrible look. Like Big Ben, you're supposed to be looking out for everybody. Athletes are supposed to be role models. Athletes are supposed to be all these good things in the world. Athletes oftentimes are supposed to transcend humanity and be the greatest beings on earth. Fact of the matter, it's not true. So I don't have an issue with Big Ben not being it and not being the role model, but it is a bad look.
Preach, Acho. Boy, you said that. That's what Booger was trying to say between game and profession, but I'll let that live. You know what's funny about this? I'm with you, Big Ben. I am not mad at you. And I'm going to say it like I've said it before, and you're going to hear it loud and clear. Yeah, there were moments I used to root against my starting defensive end, Bruce Smith. When I was his backup, I was sitting there like, man, I'm trying to get mine. And it's a primal sense. It's a primal attribute. But good for you, Big Ben, for saying, hey, man, forget all this money I got and all these accolades and Super Bowl rings. I'm still trying to get it. And it is not my job to enhance the chances of somebody else taking my damn job. And that's what we have coaches for. Coach him up, coach. But he ain't gonna come in here and get all of my antidotes. He ain't gonna get my secret sauce and then go out there and use it against me, because when you're a veteran in this league, you could do the same thing, but they look at it differently. So Big Ben, when you go out there and you have a bad performance, it gets exaggerated because of your age. All of a sudden, you're in steep decline. But if you do the same thing when you're young, oh, it's okay. He'll be back next week. Good for you, Big Ben, to look through it all, separate the signal from the noise, and say, forget that. I am not helping somebody hurt me.
It's not a bad look, and it's not an issue at all. You got to think of it from this perspective. Big Ben was drafted in 2004. 2004. It's 2020. We're heading into 2021. You know how many relationships have probably come and gone for Big Ben during the duration of his time in Pittsburgh? You know, one of the things that happened to me when I was playing in Washington, we had a lot of turnover. There were a ton of guys that I became close with very quickly, and there were a ton of guys that disappeared. just as quickly as I became friends with them. You start to realize that you almost build up a wall of protection for yourself, because the more you care about guys, the harder it is to watch them go. And you never want your idea of what you're doing or how you feel about your job and where you're working to ever take a blow based off of personal feelings of something else that may have transpired. I know for me, I had personal moments where I was upset when some of the guys that I had became close with were released from the team, and it could have played a part in some of my feelings moving forward with the franchise. So I don't think it's shade, and I don't think it's a bad look at all when you don't have relationships, working relationships outside of being there. You know, I don't see that being a bad look at all.
I respect that, LA. And let's bring all this full circle, right? So often you have to say that team is greater than I. Team is greater than I. Team is greater than I. But then really I think about it and I'm like, that's a lie, because family is greater than team, which is greater than I. And the profession of all these football players, the football rather, is their profession. And you got to take care of your family. So if Big Ben were to lose his job, then all of a sudden, Big Ben can't take care of himself or his family, because football is a means in which he provides for himself and his family. So if my family is on the line and the provisions for my family are on the line, I ain't worried about all this team stuff. Like, I'm worried about taking care of me. So team may be greater than I, but family is greater than team. And Big Ben, at the end of the day, he got to look out for his. So I have no issue with it at all.
You got to mow your own lawn. That's what they always teach you. You got to tend to your own lawn. And if you're tending to your part of the lawn and everybody else is tending to their part of their lawn, then the lawn is going to look good. And that's all you need to be concerned with.
I don't know how y'all living. I pay people to do my lawn, tend my lawn. I ain't doing it. What year is it? 1989. No, I'm doing my own.
Some of us don't live that long.
Well, some of us do. Here we go. This is a dog-eat-dog world. We all know that. And you only eat what you kill. So don't look at me. It may be Scrooge-ish, but it's not unethical to say, hey, man, I am not trying to help you out. So beyond all that, we've seen this play out before, whether it was Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers, whatever that dynamic was. Tom Brady and Jimmy Garoppolo, there was whispers about that, whatever that was, if nothing. But I can't wait. Forget all this Mason Rudolph and, is Big Ben going to hold my hand for 4 quarters? He need to worry about Myles Garrett in this situation. That's going to be funny to watch the microaggressions play out in this performance. Mason Rudolph has started, 8 career games? He's been in the fire before. I think we're going to exaggerate how much this is going to have an impact on Mason Rudolph and how much their issue is between Big Ben and Mason Rudolph. He's been there before. They've been teammates. Hey, I'm sure Ben is not going out of his way to help him, but if Mason does, then Ben is there to answer and help him out. Coming up, Uncle Jimmy joins us with his own thoughts on Big Ben. Let's hear where he takes it. That's next on Speak for Yourself. Before we go, Uncle Jimmy is here. We just gave you our thoughts on Ben Roethlisberger, but Jimmy's got something to add about Big Ben. Go ahead, go get it.
All right, man, here we go. Let's give it up. Here's my favorite segment of the show, Uncle Jimmy's Dumbass Question of the Day.
All right.
Man, did y'all just sit up here and say that should Ben Roethlisberger have a better relationship with his backup quarterback?
That's a decent question. I mean, it would help.
Ain't that about the equivalent of saying, should he have a backup with Mike Tomlin's side piece?
What? Really?
Hey, man, look here. Ben Roethlisberger is old school. Okay?
What?
Ben Roethlisberger is at the point, he's on the backside of his career, okay?
You ain't lying.
Ben Roethlisberger's at a point in his career that I can guarantee you he thinks about onion rings just as much as he thinks about Super Bowl rings.
Real though.
I guarantee you Ben Roethlisberger will hurt you over his Funyuns just as much as he hurt you over his Funyuns. Okay? I'm trying to say, man, look here, man. Hey, Ben has more to worry about than a damn Mason Rudolph. You got Juju Smith-Schuster dancing like a little Thortolina out here in the middle of the damn center stage for the damn TikTok.
Thortolina.
Hey, man, Ben Roethlisberger is the leader of Steeler Nation. He ain't got time for the embetterment of some little quack named Mason.
Mason's not even Duck Hodges.
Hey, Mason better watch his mouth, though. If Myles Garrett plays, it's going to be fireworks. That's it for us.